Joining me this evening on the 9 o'clock news is Mr. Gopal Gandhi. Mr. Gandhi, well, congratulations on your nomination. But of course, I'd like to begin by asking you, as a statesman in public life, your comments on the tragic events on the terror attack on the Amarnath Yatris.
I have not looked upon myself as a statesman, and I cannot look upon myself as a statesman, but I know that the country needs a vision and a far-sighted statement, and I cannot think of a starting point which is as poignant, as urgent as what happened in Amarnath today. We are living in the most contentious times when vengeance and retribution and violence are abroad. Terrorism is a daily nightmare, and I cannot even begin to think of the pain and anguish felt by the next of kin of those who have been killed. It is something which cannot be measured, and it is not something which can be addressed either through just words of condolence. But this is a time when the whole nation must ask itself how it is going to cope with this atmosphere of violence. Terrorism has to be met by the state, and it is going to be met by the state. The state is doing all that it can to meet terrorism. But there is something which has to be done within the country to keep terror at bay from our hearts, to keep vengeance and retribution at bay. These are poisonous fumes which are spreading all over the country, and we have to guard ourselves against letting these loose amidst us. I am very glad you asked me about Amarnath. I cannot speak about vice presidential nominations, about myself, as if that is the important thing that has happened today.
And of course, so those important words you said, keeping terror at bay from our hearts. Tell me, sir, why did you decide to accept this nomination for vice president? In a sense, you've entered what the opposition is calling a battle of ideologies. Why did you choose to enter the public arena, to enter politics in a sense at this stage? Do you think it is a battle of ideology?
I did not choose to enter it. When in the middle of my class, and incidentally I am a teacher, I teach at a university, I was taking a class on Dara Shikoh. It just so happened that I was taking a class on this luckless prince, the prince who stood for India's pluralism and died for India's pluralism. I was in the middle of that class when I got this call. I took a moment. I said I need a little time to reflect and respond. And I took a few minutes to reflect and respond. And I said that when 18 opposition parties representing the country from Kashmir to Kanyakumari are asking me to be their candidate and are asking me unanimously in a show of unity and conviction, it would not be right for me to say no. Unity and conviction are very important in our country and very rare in our country. Unity particularly is very rare in our country. But when I saw this, as it happened in the case of Meeraji, when I saw this, I said that I must respond positively. And I would like to just say that my candidature will not be against any individual, certainly not any candidate. And it will not be against any political phalanx or group either, but it will be against suspicion, against hatred, against what can be called bigotry. It will be against these, but principally it will be for something. That's how I'm envisaging it. It is just a few hours before this has happened. So I'm yet to fully organize my thoughts. But I see my candidature as a candidature for the spirit of India's integrity and India's plural intelligence, if I may put it that way.
Mr. Gandhi, you are not against the political phalanx, but there are those who felt that you would have been the presidential candidate, and the only reason you lost out in the opposition choice was because of caste. Is that true? Does that disturb you?
I would not say that I lost out on that possibility, because I was one of many people who were being considered. I would be flattering myself if I were to say that I lost out on it. There were many people under consideration, and the many people under consideration on both sides. On the opposition side, the media had many names which it speculated about. On the NDA, the government side, there were not so many names that were being speculated about. But nonetheless, there were many names around. And when a particular candidate was announced by the NDA, it was only natural for the opposition parties to see how that candidate could be matched electorally.
But when you talk about electorally and numbers, does the issue of numbers worry you? Because the NDA clearly has the numbers in this. In fact, in the case of Meera Kumar, the BJP has already said that she's being made a scapegoat because there are no chances of her winning. Do you feel you're fighting a losing battle?
Nobody enters an election with an intention to lose. But one can enter an election with an intention to make a statement, with an intention to tell the people what their rightful options are in that election. It is sometimes necessary to fight an election as it is necessary to fight for a cause, for the principle of it. I would not at any point during the campaign like to believe that I am fighting a battle which is predestined one way or the other. It is wrong to presume victory, and it is wrong to fear defeat. What is important is the statement that is made, the statement and the message that is being sent. And I would like to repeat that my contest, as I would see it, is for the democratic and republican spirit of the Constitution and for the preservation of the fundamental trust between people and between communities, which in Hindi is so beautifully called Vishwas, in Hindustani called Aitbar, in Tamil called Nambikkai. It is Vishwas, Aitbar, Nambikkai and trust that I would like to see this election centered around.
Do you think that mutual trust is under threat at this current time? Interestingly, of course, Prime Minister Modi used Sabarmati Ashram, the ashram of your grandfather Mahatma Gandhi, to issue that strong statement against lynchings.
I would like to say that anybody who visits Sabarmati, anybody who visits Shantiniketan cannot but be moved by the magnetism of those sites. And I am not surprised that Prime Minister Modi was moved by what he saw and felt and experienced in Sabarmati to say what he said about the lynchings. What has happened in Amarnath a few hours ago and what has happened across our country over the last several months in terms of lynchings are two manifestations of the same phenomenon of violence, vengeance, retribution. That is what we are up against. That is what Gandhi gave his life for. And I'm not surprised that Prime Minister Modi spoke as he did at Sabarmati. I would like to see what he said being translated into action. For it is only when a word of honor given by a Prime Minister is translated into action that that word of honor acquires meaning. I would like to believe that he will see to it that what he has said will be translated into action, and all those responsible for those brutal lynchings will be brought to face the law.